It is Thursday. It is week 2. It is Tavern Talk. I am not Force of Will. My name is Brasky. I will be subbing in this week for the one and only Force of Will, but it's still the same Tavern Talk that everyone knows and loves. And of course, we know and love the two people above me that you will see on the screen. First and foremost is the one and only Steffi. Steffi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We were supposed to have
Awesome.
Snowmageddon this past last night. We were supposed to have like 6 inches of snow with like an ice storm and all this stuff. We've canceled school and did all these things. I wake up this morning and we had like half an inch of like a dusting. So it was like my car still sucked driving in it, but it was still fine.
Yeah, we had something similar over here too, where we got like cut off school because of ice and stuff, but it really wasn't anything super serious. So we got a day off. So that was about it.
It's true. The day was icy, but nothing is as cool as Jack Sox. Jack Sox, how you doing, my friend?
I am currently pog champing over the home screen on teamhearthleague.com. There are some nifty changes, and man, it looks pretty. And the information, Brasky,
There's so much
on that home screen. I'm loving it. Shout out to the website maintenance crew. You guys rock.
There is data abound, man. There's so much data abound in these things. I know. It is absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Can you come closer and whisper sweet things into my ears?
How about some THL?
Oh, let's get into it, baby.
Let's do it, my friend. Let's do it. It was a fantastic week in the first week for THL, both in the Ragnaros League and the Sylvanas League, both Conquest and Last Hero Standing. It was eventful in both ways for both of my teams. I think it was eventful I think we could say the same about your two as well, correct?
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. So without further ado, let's look back at some of those featured matches from last week's Tavern Talk and see just exactly what happened. And we will start with Hearthstone Academy versus Dirty Mike and the boys. This was kind of like the featured matchup from last week in this conference, this league. And it ended up happening that Hearthstone Academy put 20 points on Dirty Mike and the boys. Sage swept Eric O'Key on Salty Saturday with a very unique lineup that included Quest Rogue and I believe a mage deck that included Patches the Pirate. All hosts last week, I believe, picked Dirty Mike and the boys to win, but Jack Sox did pick Sage to beat Eric O'Key. He's like the Jimmy the Greek of THL matches. Do not always put your money on Jack Sox, man. Hearthstone Academy will take on the really nice guys in week 2, while Dirty Mike will face off against the one and only Texas Stubbies in a rematch of the Rag League Season 7 finals. Dirty Mike and the boys in the power rankings came up 18th this week because of their showing against HSA. Do they belong in the bottom 5 of this league, or was it just a bad week for them? And perhaps was this a foreshadowing of a playoff matchup maybe later on? Steffi, what's your thoughts?
I think that this was just a bad week. I don't foresee them being at the bottom for very long at all. And it'd be kind of cool, like you said, nice little foreshadowing effect where they're in the finals and doing these cool things and things like that. But no, I definitely think it was just a bad week because it's a great team. They're really good players. So they got it out of their system now, and they're just going to do just fine.
Jack Sox, your opinion?
I bet you if we were to go back in THL history and look at the amount of champions that have lost week 1, that Dirty Mike is not out of this. They got a strong roster. And there's a lot of vets over there that will know how to handle this adversity, learn from it, and put together a better strategy for next week. I think Dirty Mike and the boys are fine. And this is also karma for getting rid of Dirty Mike.
Yeah, maybe that was it. And maybe the whole season is that way. It's like a team like trading away their star player, their franchise player, and just like for nothing, for pennies on the dollar is what's going to happen. It's not out of the range of possibility that Dirty Mike and the boys like maybe just go winless and it's strictly karma. But then after like purging that, they come back in a season and then go completely undefeated. They don't even lose a game. That might be that's what's going to happen.
It would be the first time it's happened in THL.
I would believe it.
I just got to do justice real fast. I need 5 seconds for this. I did say me, myself, and I would fall to Tony Montana. I said 3-1 odds. Folks, I apologize. MMI, here's my public proclamation of my wrongness. There you are, sir.
The flogging has happened. He has been publicly flogged, and we are going to publicly move on to the next featured match. Steffi, talk a little bit about that, what ended up being a really close matchup between Spicy Boys and Team Mox.
Yeah, it was actually really close. So Team Ox wins a close match 14-12 after being down 8-2 during last week's Tavern Talk. Banja swept Wolfpack on Friday night's fight, which was really good, by the way. I was able to watch that, and it was awesome. All of us did pick the Spicy Boys for the win. Force did pick Banja to beat Wolfpack, and he predicted his own loss, which, was incorrect. So that's good. However, Team Mox is facing off against Noob Central this week, and I think we all know who I'm partial for. Force did apologize for not being present for Tavern Talk because he wanted to talk smack with me. But let's be real, he's not here because he knew I'd win the smack talk, so it's all fine.
That is a fantastic point. That is completely sound logic. I don't find any flaws in that that logic at all.
That's just what I'm thinking.
Good
Lord. So Spicy Boys. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, it's all you.
I was just going to say Spicy Boys faces against Team Swagboy, who just literally crushed our teeth in the first week, but it's all good. If I was going to lose to somebody, I'd rather lose to them. Team Mox is currently at 12 on the Ragnaros Power Rankings, and Spicy Boys is tied at 9th. So do you guys think the reviewers are correct in placing both teams there? So what do you guys think?
That's an interesting spot to put both of them. I mean, they put them at 9th and 12th. They put them very close together. They put them in the middle of the league, and they had a very close match. I think the jury is still out on what these teams are going to be, obviously, because it's week 1. That's all we know about them. But you look at the makeup of these two teams. I mean, Team Mox has a lot of really solid players, some of them with many seasons under their belt. You look at the Spicy Boys. A lot of known unknowns on my end of looking at some of these players. I know I play Mullet this week, and I am, the emails have been cordial. So I think that it's going to be an interesting matchup between the two of us. I think the jury's still out on the Spicy Boys. Team Mox is always just going to be solid to me. Jack Sox, what do you think?
So back in the day when we used to do power rankings, we used to say, all right, guys, who's 1 through 4, who's 16 through 20, and we just kind of threw it at the wall to see what stuck in between there. I think that's kind of what sort of happened here with these two teams. There's not a lot of information, and there's still a lot of unknowns. We know that they're not really at the bottom. We're not sure if they're up at the top. So I feel like these are kind of safe play rankings when we come to teams that we just where do you put them? There's not enough information about them, and we have a limited data set to work off of. I do have to say I'm excited to learn more about some of the guys that we see on Spicy Boys and Mox here. And I don't know why, dude. Maybe it's the fat kid in me. I'm really excited to see what Cakes brings this season. I hope Cakes. I hope Cakes.
If you have too many cakes, you're going to end up seeing Doc McButt. That's kind of like what one thing ends to the other. That's why that match is going to be so key. All right, Steffi, you're going to go up against Arthur Rhodes in this one, the Salt Man himself. Yeah. Is it going to be 3-0, 4-0, 7-0? I'm not exactly sure. Are you just going to keep playing grudge matches until you stomp him into the ground, or is he just going to is he just going to sneak in there and maybe take a victory from you?
So my goal is to make him extremely salty, as salty as possible. So hopefully I can just, do a little sweep and then move on with my life. But he's a good player, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. And another great one that we can talk about is what happened between Noob Central and Team Swagwa.
I believe you're looking for the preferred pronunciation, which is Swagwa.
Yes,
which is what the French like to.
It's a French Canadian, really, if you think about it that way.
But let me tell you a little something about that matchup.
Please.
Swagboy laid the beat down on Noob Central, 18-7, which I think was a shock for many people. Noob Central has a roster that just looks like a bunch of beautiful people over there. Maybe not that tall. I hear they're all about 5'2.5".
Quite stout.
But they took 4 out of the 5 overall matchups. I would like to remind folks that I correctly went against the grain and said that Earl would beat Slimch. Anybody named Earl is not to be messed with. Just putting that out there. On the first episode of Thursday Throwdown, shout out to our match tonight. We'll tell you more about that in a bit. But even though we picked Earl to beat Slimch unanimously. We're kind of shocked because we all picked Noob Central to win the overall match. So with Swagwa currently third on the power rankings, in 8 weeks, will they still be that high? What do you think there, Brasky?
Well, you always say that you said you were surprised that happened. Were you surprised that Noobs lost, or were you surprised that Swagaway won?
Neither. It was the nature in which it was done.
I see. Yeah, we did take them to the shed, the proverbial shed, the one where all the Hall of Fame cards live that you don't remember, or the nerfed cards, like Arcane Golem lives in that shed. That's what happens over there. I think last season we had a very strong season. A lot of people said that we weren't that good because we were at the top of the weakest league. The season before that, we snuck into the playoffs, and people, thought we were a middle of the range team again in a weak division. In our very first season, we started off really slow and then almost made the playoffs after starting, I believe, 0-4 in this spot. So my question is, either we are the luckiest team in THL to always be put in the easiest division to come through, or I think it's time for the Swagway to start getting a little bit of credit and get a little bit of respect for some of these things. And that's why the win over Noob Central, I think, says that, because the Noobs, quite possibly, in my opinion, could be the second best team in the league. First being us, of course.
So let me take that and pivot this over to our Noob Central member here. Steffi, you
Yes.
folks over there at Noob Central are currently 18th on the power rankings.
True.
Tell us about your training montage that's going to help you make a comeback after this disastrous week.
So I'm not going to put all our cards out there on the table because, got to keep some secrets. But yeah, we definitely did a lot of reflecting as a group, and we really talked, and we're like, what the fuck happened? So we're definitely going to make a stronger comeback this week. We're kind of changing up our strategies, maybe not. Maybe we're just going to bring the same thing and then try to do it again. I'm not going to tell you guys. But I do believe that, this is just, we had a tough first week, and that's that. We're going to climb back up, and we're going to do our thing. We're going to be top dogs. People view us highly for a reason, so I think we're going to prove that.
And that's a great point, because I guarantee you I'm going to start this season 6-0 and then just get demolished the last 3 weeks of the season. That is exactly what is going to happen in this spot.
I'm going to do the reverse, just so everybody knows.
See, Swagoy is, that's that. Watch that happen. We'll start off and get 23 point weeks every single season, and then all of a sudden just have weeks like Team Tryhard and just not even make the playoffs at the end of it. Who knows? That's what THL is all about, man. Week by week, those last 3 weeks are some of the most exciting weeks I have playing Hearthstone.
There's another league that had quite a week last week in Sylvanas. I don't play in that league.
It's fun. This is my first time. I know. I subbed twice last year at the last minute for a couple of teams, including Weasel Sharks. Shout out to the Weasel Sharks. And boy, it's really interesting playing last hero standing between Conquest. It's a whole different ballgame over there. And what I love about that, and we'll talk about this in the Q&A, is you actually see a few decks that would never be played in Ragnaros League. There's a few decks in there that you would never see in Rag League. And I know that the first match that was from last week that was talked was Tiny Finn Fan Club and the Fearless Hearth. Steffi, what happened in that match?
Wait, can you say that one more time?
The TFC, Tiny Finn Fan Club and the Fearless Hearth. They butted heads in the arena that is Hearthstone. Some code was lost and someone actually won. What exactly happened in that match?
Yeah, so this was an interesting one. So the reigning Sylvanas League champions, Tiny Finn Fan Club, beat the Fearless Hearth 15-9, including 2 sweeps, with Try Me Homie sweeping Apex Predator, if I said that right, I probably didn't, sorry, which was played on Salty Saturday, and G-Kick sweeping Kazoo Tarut. These names, though, you guys are clever.
Kazoo Tarut, man, right?
A clever name.
What the hell's the name Kazoo Tarut? I'll take it, man.
Making my life a little harder, but I like these names. So all 3 of the hosts picked Tiny Finn to win the match, but for Apex to beat Try Me Homie. In week 2, Tiny Finn Fan Club faces off against Tollywag's Disciples, which had an impressive week 1 beating Team Synergy, while the Fearless Hearth plays off against, 65,340,285,000 boys who just beat Explosive Sheep. So good for them. I was rooting for them to win, and they did. Tiny Fan Club is currently number 2 on the Sylvanas Power Rankings after Booty Sweat beat Team Tryhard 20-1. That's crazy. So do you expect them to take over the number 1 spot? Brasky, let's start with you. Do you think they're going to take that spot?
Well, the thing about this team is when you look at Tiny Finn Fan Club, that the makeup of that team is absolutely insane. It is. I don't know why they weren't number 1 in the first place, to be completely honest with you. I look at the lineup of Tiny Finn Fan Club, Anamore, Try Me Homie, Arcane THL in the 3 seed, for God's sakes, G-Kick in the 4, and Jasper in the 5. The makeup of that team is insane to me. I think, in my opinion, that's the team to beat. I think they have the reigning MVP. I think he did a 3-0 like he always does. I mean, Anamore's on my other team. Anamore, last year standing, really is his format. That dude can just run the table on anything. The way that guy can analyze and pick classes and counter and really tech his lineups to kind of beat somebody. I have all the faith in the world in him. I think that team is going to be in the top 4 of the season just every single week. So I think that Tiny Finn Fan Club is going to put up a heck of a fight on Team Booty Sweat. Yeah, the Booty Sweat.
Love that name.
So that's my opinion of Tiny Finn Fan Club. Booty Sweat, hell of a statement against Team Tryhard. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Jack Sucks, what's your opinion of the TFC and what they're going to put together, and even the Fearless Hearth and the kind of week that they had, knowing that they were going up against one of the best teams probably in the Sylvanas League?
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with Cutthroat coming in and doing the damn thing. Cutthroat's been out of action for a bit in all THL activity, and he came in taking on Arcane THL, and that was a throwdown showdown right there. But I have to say, TFC, man, you look at that roster. I thought Jasper was ridiculous in the 4 seed. I had to remember that PR changes put him in the 5. To have those type of guys bouncing around spots like that is a scary, scary thought, man. They have a very solid roster, and I think it's especially in the middle where you see the most fluctuation of seeds. They just look good, man.
Yeah,
they look real good.
Yeah.
2, 3 naturally, like when you look back at the season, 2 and 3 seeds oftentimes are usually 500 records or worse. And sometimes I remember there was one season, I think every 3 seed had like an under 500 record because the flip flop between the 2 and the 3.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of interchange between those two. And so I don't think it's any different, especially in that 4-5 for Tiny Finn Fan Club. It'll be a back and forth, and that's not going to be good for other teams that play them because you really don't know who you're going to go up against week in and week out.
They're both opponents that you need to be ready for, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, that is Tiny Finn Fan Club and the Fearless Hearth as well. Fearless Hearth, I think, is we'll know more about them as they take on the rest of the league. We'll know more after they take on some maybe teams that are just right in that midsection. If they do get a chance to take on Team Tryhard, we'll really know what they're made of because that might be the hardest matchup in all of THL.
You know who we do know quite a bit about?
What is that?
Tan Pam Surf Slam.
Absolutely.
Big Bandits.
2 of my favorite team names.
Great, and I think that I was chosen to read that because there was a 90% probability of me messing up. So I would give a shout out to myself there. While it is the debut for them in Sylvanas League, we do see some familiar faces on Tam Pam Surf Slam, but they did beat the Big Deck Bandits in a well fought match, 15-10. Which, when you really look at things, man, those are earned victories. I mean, when you got both teams putting up double digits, you earned that win. But you have Steffi beating Lefty 3-1 on an awesome Friday Night Fights showdown, and Mushu beating Misadventure. But the problem there becomes Big Deck Bandits dropping the other 3 games. You have great showings by some of your team members, but that's why it's Team Hearth League and not individual Hearth.
Yeah, it's not
League.
Steffi Hearth League. That's not that.
We're making progress, okay?
I will give us credit for at least staying loyal to Steffi. Last week, all the hosts did pick Steffi and the Big Deck Bandits to win. So kudos to Tam Pam and the fam for shutting us up there. But next week they got to go up against Team Black Lotus, who just lost to Team Next Level. And the Big Deck Bandits are going after that Booty Sweat, who laid an absolute beatdown on Tryhard. So we have some hype city coming up this week in Sylvanas League. But do you think, Brasky, do you think that Big Deck Bandits can make a comeback and make the playoffs yet again?
I believe that is that
Good
is something.
answer.
Yeah, I think one, I have a lot of respect for the game that Steffi plays in LHS. I have a huge amount of respect for Imposition, and Doc McButt for being a 100 PR player. I think LHS is his format. I know to be honest, like when he went to DreamHack Denver, and actually, as someone he would readily admit is someone who is of the skill level of your lower ladder player, someone who's in that rank 15 club that I've always been in for quite some time. He showed up and won 4 matches against some very formidable opponents in the LHS format. So I think Doc can surprise some people going into that. I think Doc Anarchist is going to be a fun game. You look at the rest of that lineup. Shinsui just completely just made me regret my life choices with his shaman. And so Insurlis and Arakoki in those spots, that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. I know that.
I agree. I mean, I'm excited to just be a part of this match. It's going to be fun.
Steffi, in your opinion, as I would say unequivocally, is the most skilled player in this panel right now. What do you prefer? Do you prefer LHS or Conquest? And like, what is it about LHS? What goes into your class picks with that? Like, you're bringing Mage this week. Why bring Mage there as opposed to bringing it in Conquest?
Well, I don't think Mage is very good in Conquest, to be honest. But I don't want to talk too much about my deck.
No, it's like fine. Okay, it's fine.
I just
say we were bringing a wild control deck. Why would you bring so many ice lances? But what is it about that format that you dig? Like, there's certain types of decks that do not work in Conquest that do work in LHS. Is that because they are so polarizing, or is there something else about them?
So I feel like there is, like, you're going to see some of the same types of decks in both formats, but I don't know. I think you have an opportunity to be a little more creative with LHS and really can kind of like create something that you really think is like a sturdy and could do well against a variety of decks. With Conquest, it's a little bit, I don't know, because you only have to win with one deck and then you get to move on to your other ones. Like, you have to have 3 very strong decks, obviously. Well, 4 technically, 1 gets banned. But I really like Last Hero Standing though too, because it kind of prepares you to, like, if you want to do like tournament settings, and a lot of like, I know DreamHack does Last Hero Standing, for example. So like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into this, because it kind of prepares you for different formats and play styles. And it really helps you start thinking, like, what do you think would be really good, like a deck that you could literally just bring and like you could just play it. And if you just win with it continuously, then you're good to go.
Yeah, I that's one of the reasons why I got on it, is because I feel that this is the format I'm probably weakest at, because I don't have the experience with it. Regardless of the fact that Team Tryhard is probably the most formidable team in the Sylvanas League, it gives you a completely new perspective on how to analyze your lineup, how to analyze your bans, and how to pick a class in the middle of a match. Jack Sox, do you have any how much experience do you have in the LHS format?
Only the one season that we did it in THL in the early days, Beta or Kappa, we did LHS. I'm gonna be honest with you, I hated it because all my tournament experience up until that point had been in Conquest, and it's different. It's just different. You have to prepare different. The way you have to think about which deck to queue up next. It's all about countering, and you have to have a firm understanding of the meta to really be able to play that format well, and I don't. So.
Yeah. And the meta, I think, plays an important part of whether or not LHS is a good format. I think if you have, I mean, it's a little dicey right now because there's two awesome decks, and you're going to ban one of them. That other one always has the potential to sweep you.
That's true.
In the days of, aggro shaman was the king, or even Jade Druid in the early days of the rotation. Jade Druid, having one awesome deck almost made LHS better, because you're always going to ban that, and then we could actually see what the other decks in the meta were. This time it's pick your poison between two. It's very rare that you will ever see Warlock or Priest not banned. And if it isn't banned, then you really want to watch that matchup because something weird is going to happen there.
Some fun stuff, man.
It is. And so that is that's the weekend review that we had going into, which means that's week 1. And now we go into week number 2. And week number 2, we have a couple of featured matches that we're going to touch on. We will start, and we're going to stay in this this LHS format. We're going to stay in the Sylvanas League, and we're going to preview week 2. The first match that we're going to preview is going to be Team Hearth Coach versus Team Next Level. Now, Team Hearth Coach is looking to rebound after 18-6 loss to the Thick Boys. Thick Boys, another new team, but also very, very skilled. A lot of good players in there as well. Team Next Level beat Team Black Lotus 15-10 in week 1. Blake Hall versus Jammies is going to be at the 8 p.m. match of Friday Night Fight this week. It's going to be a battle of 2 seeds after Jammies jumped Donde in week 1. He went from 3-2 right there. Jammies went 3-1 over Rampage KC in week 1, while Blake Hall won over Ex-Emissary 3-2. This is going to be an interesting matchup between Team Hearth Coach and Team Next Level. Jack Sox, we'll start with you. What is your predictions of what team is going to win, and what's your predictions of this Friday Night Fight matchup that's going to happen between Blake Hall and Jammies?
So I have an inside track known as the THL results page for Sylvanas League.
Really?
And because of this inside knowledge I have that nobody else has access.
I don't think so.
Knowing that Team Next Level is already up 12-1, I'm going to go ahead and say Team Next Level is probably going to lock this one up.
I don't know about you.
I don't know why I would say such a thing.
I don't know about you.
As far as the match that is yet to be decided in our Friday Night Fight, I'm not too familiar with Blake Hall's. I followed a little bit of Jammies here, so to me, I'm gonna look at the where we bring it here, right? And
yeah.
I see that good old Blake here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find.
Yeah, no, it's a complete mirror. It's going to be Druid, Priest, Rogue, Warlock on both sides.
Yeah.
Are they both just going to ban Priest and see what happens? Is that what's going to happen?
I think that's going to be it, man. I think that's going to be it. Is both ban Priest, flip a coin, duke it out. I hope this thing goes 5. That's my prediction. Mirror match to 5 games. There's my awesome prediction for you.
Steffi,
I'm so insightful.
Obviously, up 12-1 is going to be tough to make a prediction on. I think, even if they bring another 8 points in, who knows? Team Next Level could fail the drug test and be docked 7 points at the end of it. When you see a complete mirror match between this Druid, Priest, Rogue, Warlock, Jammies versus Blake Hall, who do you think is going to win? But more importantly, if you're going into a complete mirror like this, what's your mindset? Do you start aggro? Do you start control? Do you just start with the most powerful deck and hope you can sweep? Or do you plan on some sort of counteraction between that? What's your mindset going into a match like this, knowing it's a complete mirror?
So I think mirrors are probably the hardest ones because, well, you're assuming it's a mirror going into it because technically you don't know what your opponent's bringing. And from personal experience from last week, in the RAG series, I thought it wasn't a complete mirror, but I thought my opponent was bringing one thing and he brought something completely different. And it was like, what? And it completely wrecked me. So I know players could take advantage of that, almost like a mind test to your opponent. I don't think that's always the smartest, but you never know. But usually with me, I start out with, I don't know, because like I said, I'm still new to the THL and things like that and figuring out the best way. And I'm not going to pretend like I know the best deck to start out with. But me personally, I usually start out with one of the decks that, at least in this format, that I am the most comfortable with. And I feel like I'm the most skilled with. And I feel like I can do really well against my opponent's decks and kind of run with that. But a lot of it is really just like, figuring out how are you going to make your decks kind of beat their decks because you thought they were the best decks to bring, and so did your opponent. So it makes it really hard.
And how you react. I mean, there's nothing worse than queuing up Jade Druid in the mirror, and then your opponent all of a sudden drops down a couple of Enchanted Ravens, and you go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And try to wonder how you're going to make that adjustment. Then you all of a sudden, it's like, great, now I really wish I kept those swipes. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting spot. So in your opinion, Jammies versus Blake Hall, who wins?
I'm going to go with Jammies.
Jammies. Strictly because of the name?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Not going to lie.
See, Blake Hall, you have a fantastic name, and we all know what's on your driver's license. But sometimes you just got to go jammies. That's what it's got to be.
It's going to be a jammy jam, man.
It's going to be a jammy jam, man. You always got to bring the jammy jam with the jam. So we're going to jam from Jammy Jam on top of Team Hearthcoach into Team Black Lotus and Tam Pam Surf Slam from the Jammy Jam. So from Jammy Jam to Tam Pam Surf Slam onto Team Black Lotus, those two teams are going to go up against each other. Team Black Lotus coming off a loss to Team Next Level 15-10 in week 1, while Tam Pam Surf Slam beat the Big Deck Bandits in their debut, as we talked earlier. The 4 seeds, Cyclameth and Nate, are playing each other in the 4 p.m. match of Salty Saturday, I believe, which will be super, super exciting. And both Cyclameth and Nate won their week 1 matchups 3-1, both over Altenberg and Finnick O'Dare, respectively. Tam Pam Surf Slam, Team Black Lotus. Team Black Lotus, I think, is like an OG team from this format from way, way back in the day. Bunnyman, Arthur Rhodes, Rampage KC, Cyclameth, Force of Will against Lefty, Dirty Mike, Misadventure, Nate, Osmonaut. That looks like fun. That looks like fun to me. Jack Sucks, what do you look at this matchup? Who do you think is going to take it?
I'm torn, man, because as I go through this, I love the way I've seen Lefty hold himself in this league. I think taking a game off of Steffi last week, because it's really easy to get swept in LHS for what I've been seeing over, the past couple seasons of actually trying to pay attention to what's going on that side and learn a little bit more about the format. So I like Lefty, but then I like Salt, Arthur Rhodes. The 3 seats, the question mark for me. I like Nate, but then I like Osmana as well. So it's kind of like I'm torn. But I think ultimately, Tam Pam Surf Slam put in a great performance last week against a well-respected team. So I got to give the tip of the hat to Tam Pams.
Yeah. Steffi, what's your opinion on this?
I was like, because I'm a little nerd, I was taking notes before we did all this. And I was like, what are my thoughts? And I was writing them down. I actually kind of said something very similar, just because, they beat us. And even though I got the win with Lefty, he still played really well. And obviously his team did a really, really good job in addition. And so I can't help but want to kind of support them and be like, oh, well, you did well last week. I want you to do well this week. So I'm definitely going to give it to Tam Pam.
That strength of schedule. I mean, I know strength of schedule doesn't come into spot playoffs, but you gotta get that quality loss going, man. That's what it is. You got to look at these things. I mean, if we ever have a 64 team THL format, you don't want to be losing to a 16 seed. That's the
eye test. You got to pass the eye test.
You got to pass the eye test. Arthur Rhodes passes the eye test. That's what happens, man. I look at this matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know a lot of these names, but I know them from the other format, with the exception of maybe Salt. I look at these names and I know how they do in Conquest. I have not a great grasp on how Last Hero Standing is going to be with some of these spots. So I'm with you guys. If it's Tam Pam Surf Slam, maybe it's just the alliteration of the name. Maybe it's just the name itself. Team Black Lotus. They might as well be called Team Blake Hall. That's what it is there, right? It's a great team name. We all know what the Black Lotus card is in there, and we all know Blake Hall is a fantastic Hearthstone player. But I just got to go with Tam Pam Surf Slam because it rolls right off the tongue. Yeah, we go from Tam Pam Surf Slam, which is certainly going to be a jam when we watch on cam for what's going to happen this Saturday. And so we move from that on to some rag matchups. And Steffi, we're going to cover 3 matchups here in the Rag League. The first one I'm particularly interested in. And what is that matchup in the Rag League for week 2 going to be?
So we're going to be talking about Bloodbath and Beyond versus Prep Coin and Concede. So Bloodbath and Beyond is coming off of a 15-9 win over Project Mayhem, which is very impressive. As well as Prep Coin Concede is coming off of a tie 13-13 in week 1 with the Bad Hombres. The 3 p.m. match on Salty Saturday is Jasper versus Hockey Boys. Jasper is coming off of a 3-1 win over Brunson, while Hockey Boys is coming off of a 1-3 loss. To follow Durden. Again, these names, I know.
Follow Durden.
My pronunciation is
like Fight Club.
I know. I think I picked up on that, but yeah. So I'm actually really excited to kind of like evaluate this again because I was looking at stuff earlier. I was looking over what both of the players were going to be bringing to this match that's going to be aired, and I liked Jasper's lineup a little bit better. What I think is Hockey Boys bringing Mage. Let me double check if I'm remembering this correctly.
It's
I
going to
remember
be
I
an
saw
interesting
that.
matchup.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Not saying it's bad. It's just interesting. But I still felt like I don't know. I think Jasper might bring it. I think he was literally bringing like something that I thought was one of the best lineups to bring this week. So I kind of was voting for them. And then Prep Coin Concede. Some of my friends are on that team, so I'm just like, I think they're gonna win it. What do you think, Bresky? What are your thoughts on the game?
Hockey Boys is on Team Try Hard with me, and the one thing I'll give that guy credit for is his ability to craft a deck. Even if for memes or for competitive reasons, that guy will try some things, and he will try hard to put some interesting cards in that deck. So the fact that I see in Hockey Boys, I see Warrior, I see Mage. I look at both of those things, and I go, that I want to see the replays, and I want to know what's going to happen there.
Same.
Yeah, Warrior is an interesting thing to me. Warrior treated me well when my opponent brought it. It just ended up it betrayed him. It was a good pick. It was in a lot of ways it was a fantastic pick for what he was looking for. That was Detective Diamond. But the thing about picking to counter decks is that those decks are often tier 1, and those decks are so good that they can oftentimes still sneak out a win against an unfavored matchup. So that's the only thing I have on Hockey Boy spots. If you're bringing those weird decks, they better work flawlessly. Otherwise, one misstep and that deck's going to take over. So Prep Coin Concede, Rebobson, Cinder, Necrotic, Jasper, Jetlaw. That's a great lineup. Yellow Dart, Starlax, AO, those are well-known players. That's going to be a fun matchup. I'm going to go with Prep Coin Concede on my end.
All I have to say is his name was Robert Paulson. But, as I looked at this matchup, the only two I really liked in favor of Bloodbath and Beyond were Starlax and Hockey Boys. But then when I saw the lineup Hockey Boys was going to bring, against a player like Jasper, I don't know, man. I already thought Bloodbath and Beyond was a little behind the 8 ball, and to see that lineup, it doesn't bring me any more confidence. So I got to go with Prep Coin on this one.
I hear you. I am Jack Sock's unspoken THL friend. That's what Fight Club is going to do for all of us. Oh, crap, I mentioned it again. I'm going to be in trouble with this, man. Chuck is going to knock on my door, and all of a sudden, it's going to be bad times all around. At the end of it, he's going to knock on the door and says, "Cover yourself in maple syrup. We're going to tar and feather you." And which brings us to Maple Syrup Inc. And Maple Syrup Inc. is taking on Defias Brotherhood. That's going to be a fun matchup. Maple Syrup Inc. is coming off a 17-9 loss to Team Next Level, while Defias Brotherhood is coming off a 17-7 loss to Thermic Whims. In a battle of the 2 seeds, Twig is going to be playing Nicolaus in the 9 p.m. Friday Night Fights match. Twig and Nicolaus went from the 1 seed in their respective teams down to the 2 seed. A lot of that seed switching that you were talking about earlier. They both got swept by Apex Predator and Brewski, respectively, which, let's be honest, who has not been swept by Brewski or Apex Predator at some point? Both of these teams, very similar losses. Both of these teams came up short in their initial offerings in week 1 of the Ragnaros League. Which team do you think bounces back, Jack Sox, between Maple Syrup Inc., the Defias Brotherhood? Maple Syrup Inc., by the way, 2 subs this week. They have Avery and Woodford coming in as well. Are those subs? You bringing in some new blood here.
Here's the beautiful thing about those subs. They've been in our team Discord since day. Actually, that's a lie. Woodford we just brought in, but obviously has been in our Discord since day 1. So there's some knowledge of the team and kind of our philosophy, which is clearly don't bring Mage and do bring Rogue, which is something many of us failed to do week 1. I honestly like our matchup. I'm not just saying that because it's our team. I think we are looking real good from top to bottom. I know that there's already much talk of how we're going to approach our opponents' lineups this week. I genuinely think week 1 was just we all practiced a lot of Mage, and some weird things happen on ladder where people learn some real easy ways to abuse Mage, and got used to playing around, the few secrets that we're running these days in those Mage decks, and we got punished. So I think we're gonna do better this week. I do think we will take a very close one. I think it's gonna be another one of those both teams are gonna get double digit sort of deals, but I think we'll get on top 3 matches to 2.
I like that. Steffi, completely counter everything he had to say.
So I think maple syrup is going to lose. No. Actually, while I was researching, I kind of was in favor of Maple Syrup Inc. for taking this week's match as well. I like your guys' lineup a little bit better. I like the consistency. Even though you do have 2 subs in, I don't know. I think that little switch can, make it a little more fun, make it exciting. So yeah, and I guess, I was trying to compare both the deck, like the 4 classes for the matchup that's going to be streamed. And I don't know. I think Tweak's lineup is just a little bit stronger, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. So I'm gonna give it to him. So I'm going to just kind of go with you.
That's interesting.
We agree on something.
I'll tell you what. From my experience being the always 4 seed, I don't think I'll ever not be a 4 seed in this league. Comp is a darn good player. Jack sucks. Immense amount of respect for you, even though you got that 134 PR coming in at 134. In the 4 seed, you have nowhere to go but up, and you're going to surprise some people in there. And when I see Paladin, Priest, Rogue, Warlock, there might be some surprises there from you. I sniff possibly somewhere, shape, or form.
Least amount pilot error. That's what you're sniffing.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. So I like what I see from there. Defias has been on a downswing ever since last season, but that doesn't change the way they like to run their ship, I think. So I think it's going to be a really close matchup. This might be like a 14-12, somewhere in there. I'm going to err on the side of the not subs, and I'm going to say Defias squeaks one out here, but would I be surprised to see Maple Syrup being bounced back? Not in any way, shape, or form.
Shigmo's not in our lineup this week. You win.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Chigmo's not in the lineup. Well, in that case, they're going to win the league. That's what's going to happen right there. No, we love Chigmo. Chigmo is awesome as well. So that is the matchup between Maple Syrup Inc. and Defias Brotherhood. Jack sucks. You have a big stake in that game as well. But there's another game going on featuring a certain letter that might give it to you. What is that third featured matchup?
I believe Q is going to give it to me. Now this is actually, I'll tell you this. This is also a super important matchup. It's in our division. It's 2 teams that we're going to have to throw down with. Thermic Whims is taking on Team Synergy. And Thermic Whims is coming off of a win over Defias, our opponents this week. And Synergy, sorry, is coming off a close loss. A 14-11 loss to Thundergun Express. And a battle of 1 seeds, man, this is an awesome matchup between Brewski and Juggernaut, which is going to be immediately after this. If you guys are planning on going somewhere, you're wrong. Stick around. We're going to get to see that one blow by blow. And they're both coming off wins after sweeping their opponents in week 1. So, knowing that, Steffi, how you see this one going down?
This one's going to be good. They're really going to give it to each other. I'm excited. What was it? Hold on. Let me pull back up my data, because I like to use my data.
She's got spreadsheets all over the place.
I need to get my data out, guys.
She's got a beautiful mind.
I do. I just, you got to be able to support your thoughts, right? Like, I need to make sure that I know what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. They both swept, right? And then they're both bringing the same lineup. So it's going to be what we can assume a mirror, unless, somebody throws a curveball out there. I gave it to Juggernaut, though, because I thought it was impressive that last week, he swept somebody who's, I know PR isn't a huge deal. It's not, but he did sweep somebody who had I think it was a 30 or 40 point difference, which I was like, that's pretty good. And so I could see him maybe doing it again. And then just Synergy, I'm just going to give it to them as well, because In Position is in there and he's really good. I think the players are super strong on that team, and I think they're going to, give it to them. How many times can we say give it to them? Because they're going to give it to them.
That should be, when we bring back drinking rules, that's going to be on there at some point. When everyone mentions X giving it to somebody, you got to drink. Wow. Synergy, Thermic Whims, Brewski, Juggernaut. I mean, I hope, man, there's a lot on this match, and I really hope it lives up to the hype. I want this thing to come down to a single damn card or an amazing like counterplay at some point.
It's 2-2 and they're top decking.
Yeah, right. That's what it needs to be, right? Is a match like that, because that's what Brewski and JR Juggernaut deserve between those two players.
Yeah.
Imposition Leviathan, Boom Boom Hall. Boom Boom Hall is my kryptonite in the 4 seed. Every time I am on a hot streak, I end up running into Boom Boom Hall, and we have very similar PRs. But he just bum rushes me at some point, and I end up leaving. And I feel like someone who's just in like a tornado, going, "What happened? I have to rebuild." That's what I see between these two teams. This is an awesome matchup, and the fact that this is the first game tonight on this Thursday night, it's going to be. Hopefully, I think it's going to live up to the hype. I think it's going to be a really close match between these two teams.
It's going to be sassy. I'm excited.
Dude, I'm doing the thing. I always like to go seed by seed and go, all right, this goes here, that goes there, this one goes here. Yo, I see this one going 2-2 with a coin flip.
Yep.
Wow,
and
this is going to be great.
The sass will be at an all-time high, no doubt.
Exactly.
Sass level snap. That's
up
what it's
here.
Going to be.
Can't even see it.
Oh, I can't even. Out of the frame.
You can't
It's
see
all the way up.
Well, that is our thoughts on Team's Energy going up against the Thermic Whims. Either X is going to give it to the Whims, or the Whims are going to go off on a whim and just dominate Zenergy. Who knows what's going to happen there? We'll find out in the first game tonight between Brewski and JR Juggernaut. So that brings us now. Those are our featured matches. Those are what we talked about, both formats, both the Conquest and Last Year's Standing, Sylvanas, Ragnaros. And that brings us now to a little Flavor of the Week section, which is going to be there's a Q&A posted on Facebook. It is tasty. It has many different flavors and many different sides. It's both bitter and salty at the exact same side. Yes. So some of the questions that were posed during this entire time, there's going to be a few things in there. So the first one in this is that if you're looking at between these two things, what's the first thing that you would ban? Priest, Rogue, or Warlock?
For me, this is easy as hell. Priest goes every time. I kind of feel like we know what to expect with Warlock in the current meta. And if somebody hits you with the Zoo in that off chance, like I got hit last week, unfortunate, but you tech some silences, you call it a day. Rogue, you just you don't let them draw Keleseth on 2, and life's good. Priest is a combo. Is it Rozakis? Are they dragging me? I don't want to plan for going up against Priest, and you'll probably beat me in a way that instantly tilts me. Priest, hands down, ban.
Steffi, what's your opinion?
I always thought it would always be Priest, just because Priest is annoying, and I hate Priest. But I think it really kind of depends on what you're bringing. Because there's times where I'm just like, I kind of want to ban Warlock. Like, I understand why people do ban Warlock, because it's, it can be really tricky sometimes play around depending on what you're bringing. I don't see the point in banning Rogue. I know Rogue's really good right now. Tempo Rogue is bomb.com. And I know that a lot of people were kind of arguing, well, like with the data and stuff from last week, that people that banned Rogue won their matches. So I could totally understand and respect that. But I don't know. I still think Rogue is beatable. I think Priest and Warlock are more likely with the current meta decks that are built right now to just kind of like just get you and can just literally kill you. While Rogue, I think it's a little bit harder for them. So I can't give you a direct answer. Sorry.
That's fine.
I'm still figuring out. Chat, you tell me. Which one would you ban?
Yeah, I want to know what chat feels about this one. Like that, the big thing for me is that Priest, oftentimes, you'll always see in sometimes like HCT playoffs or something of that nature, someone, Priest is banned 80% of the time or something of that nature with this lineup. And there's always going to be someone, specifically someone like Monsanto, who will create a completely different lineup of decks specifically targeting Priest. Because that's the thing. You can counter Priest. You can counter Rozakis. The problem is that all those other decks are terrible against the rest of the decks. And he did that. I remember watching like the HCT playoffs. He brought, Quest Druid. He brought Quest Rogue. He brought a bunch of decks that do fantastic against Priest. And there were times that he just drew bad and he still didn't win. And Priest still pulled it off. That deck is so flexible. It takes skill to pilot it. As anyone who has watched me completely humiliate myself on Friday Night Fight, it takes skill to pilot. You cannot be Brasky and win a match with Rozakis Priest just lickety split. You got to know how to pilot that. You have to identify where you are in that match. but it's
Yeah.
such a flexible deck that if you're up against a seasoned player, you got to ban it.
Too many outs, man.
Too many outs. And
Too
we move
many.
on to a quick question on this one, moving down outside of the Hearthstone range into college football. Real quick, did Nick Saban sell his soul to the devil, or is Nick Saban the actual devil? Jack Sox, your opinion.
I am from the South. SEC football is life. And while I hate Alabama, you have to respect Nick Saban. People hate the greatest, and that's why they hate Nick Saban. Nick Saban is actually our Lord and Savior.
Steffi, Saban or the devil?
I don't. I'm a real nerd. Like, I'm not a pretend nerd like you guys who follow sports. I'm a real nerd, so I don't have an opinion because I don't know.
Steffi correctly says that Nick Saban is the devil incarnate.
Yes.
As someone who lives in Nebraska and knows of the fact that the Big Ten is actually the best conference in the entire league, I do believe that Nick Saban is the Antichrist, and he has sold his soul to the devil in order to get those national championships, and will never be better than Tom Osborne. Moving on now to Mason Carey's question, which is a very poignant question that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. While me pointingly talking about my team playing the team we played this week, and then transitioning to me specifically in my match, and then looking ahead to my team playing this week against my team's opponent, then poorly transitioning into a broader question about some division crap to make it look like I care about anything other than my team and me specifically, what are the chances you can mention my name and my profound question on air? That's a big question about a question. Jack Sucks, what's your opinion?
My opinion is if you don't have that in your THL copy pasta folder, you need to go to chat right now and make sure you have this classic in there.
Fantastic. Steffi, your opinion.
I concur with that statement. Question mark.
Very good. That's what I like to hear. Why is there not in like you can have like a files spot? Is there copy pasta files in the Team Hearth League on Facebook?
We
Because
might need one.
we might need a copy pasta file. We need that instant access. That's what we need in this spot. Moving on to the next spot, Brandon Ireland. Which Georgia loss is more upsetting, Super Bowl Falcons or Championship Dogs? That's funny. It's actually the Falcons. Thank you. On moving on from that one, is the hot dog a sandwich from Brandon Ireland?
We don't have time for this one. We don't have time.
It is not. It is not a sandwich, in my opinion, because the bread is connected. It could be an open faced. It's a taco. Yes, it's a beef taco. It is a beef taco. That's exactly what it is. Earl asks, "Are the thick boys too good?" At which point, other people ask, "Are the thick boys too thick?" So that's the question. Steffi, thick boys too good or too thick?
There's never okay. If anybody says that there's a thing is too thick, they're wrong. They're too wrong. So no, they're not too thick.
That's very true. On a thickness scale between Nosferatu and Sonya, the new rogue card, where would you rate the thick boys?
Babe, girls thick. I'll put them close up. I'll put them close up.
They're a gentle Megasaur.
They're a gentle Megasaur, a gentle Megasaur of thickness. That's
what this cute. Is.
My biography is going to be entitled "A Gentle Megasaur of Thickness" by Brasky. That's what it's going to be. It's going to have like the Megasaur standing behind me and me looking like this all at the same time. That's going to happen right there. Moving on, an actual question with some good commentary from Slimsh. With Blizzard's design philosophy pushing classes into more predictable identities, is the THL format hurting, i.e. being able to see classes before the match and build based off of that knowledge?
I love this question, man.
Jack Sucks, I'll refer to you as the most seasoned player in the THL league. There was a lot of discussion in the offseason about whether or not to change this part. A lot of people think this integral part of the league, something that the league is almost identified by in some opinions. What is your thoughts on this question from Slimsh, and what are your opinions on the fact that we run the league this way?
So I will say this: I like the mind games that expecting certain things puts out there. You know, you see a rogue, you're expecting tempo. Damn it, that's a Kingsbane. Life sucks. Or you're expecting Q block, and damn it, this is Zoo. I like when these things have the opportunity to catch you off guard because there's such an expectation put on. This class is this. This is the identity of this class. This is the mechanic of this class. And somebody throws you a curveball, and you're like, I never thought of that. Also, as somebody who got to experience the Highlander beta, it's a whole different ball game when you don't know until the moment of. We use the online banning system for that. And I think, to be honest with you, I think part of what makes THL special is the format that we currently use. Because I could get knowing your classes the moment of on Strivewire, on Challenge, on all these other formats. So personally, I enjoy our format and I enjoy the curveballs that people like to throw.
Steffi, your thoughts?
I kind of agree to an extent. I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily knowing what your opponent's going to bring because you think you know, but there's potential for curveballs which really can throw you off. But I can understand the point that the meta is at this point where it's so predictable, where you can kind of see a lot of the players just bringing the predictable decks, and that could get a little boring and like there's not as much variety. It's not as, creative in that retrospect.
Yeah, it's interesting to me in that spot that if the format is going to be the way it is, there needs to be multiple viable decks of certain classes, which we do have. There's J Druid and Aggro Druid. There is 3 different types of priests. There is a couple different ways you can throw Mage if you really want to be risky with some certain stuff. Warlock can go to 2 different spots, but at the same time, you're not going to see huge surprises, I don't think, especially in the Conquest format with that. But that said, I do love everything that you talked about, Jack Sox, about the fact that you can look at the classes and try to see how you want to craft your lineups between those two. So I guess my small question to you guys between these ones, they're different. Which is better? Is it the standard HCT way or the THL way? They're different. What is better, Jack Sox?
I think it depends on what you're looking for, man. The reason I play in THL and I don't play on tournament, I enjoy the THL way.
Steffi?
I don't have a solid opinion on that, so I don't want to just make up something.
How dare you just not take my subjective statements and take them into fact, for crying out loud. It's just unfortunate. The only other one was really quick. Osmalik says, it is really unfortunate when entire classes are ruled out in competitive play due to the existing meta. What innovative ideas out there are there when it comes to the current warrior, hunter, and I will actually throw shaman decks in there as well? Are those decks unplayable in Conquest format? We do, and are they unplayable? Shaman has seen some play in LHS. Are there decent decks out there for competitive format, or are they just dumpster fires right now? Steffi, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of one of those wishful positive thinkers where it's like any class could be a good class if you make the correct deck. But I mean, I think there's a reason why they're not seeing a lot of play. I mean, I love Warrior. I think classes, so I wish that Warrior was seeing more play. But I do still think, I do still think that they're playable though, and I think you can really, but you just have to take a lot of time to really make these decks that can counter literally like the best decks in the meta out there. But I think it's possible.
Yeah, Jack Sucks, your thoughts real quick.
Competitive format, no, but I will say Evolve Shaman did sneak me a few stars when I needed to at points in time in this latter season.
Gotcha. I think there's potential in some spots there. I think, Steffi, I saw you playing Control Warlock on stream, trying to make, or Control Warrior, trying to make that deck work a little bit. And I've tried to do the same thing. And I played Token Shaman just because I'm like 15 games away from a Golden Shaman. And this is the time Shaman's in the dumpster. And I'm just like, come on, man. I feel so bad about that. But the one thing I don't feel bad about was this show. This was a good show. This was some good Tavern Talk.
Hey, Brasky. Hey, Brasky.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping us cover this week. Force Will had his work obligations, and man, having you here was great.
It was my pleasure, especially because I won't be able to do Salty Saturday this weekend. I have my own work obligations on that end. So, I always love just jumping in and being on the mic in THL. It's a super lot of fun. So, there we are. That is it for Tavern Talk. Now, here's the thing. Steffi and I need you all. We need you, chat, to stay tuned for 10 minutes because we're going to put the delay on. All right. Now, as we put the delay on, we're going to move on to that awesome featured match, that match between JR Juggernaut and Brewski. So you're going to see the stream go down. When the stream goes down, I want all of you in chat to build a Christmas tree with the letter F. Okay. And I want you to build a Christmas tree. You have 10 minutes to make a perfect Christmas tree. Once you do it, someone screenshot it. We'll check the chat log and make sure it actually happened. Okay, that's going to be your task over the next 10 minutes. So keep an eye out. In 10 minutes, Steffi and I will hit the Thursday Throwdown, and we will hit that match between Brewski and JR Juggernaut. So with that, Jack Stocks, any final words? Where can people find you on the internet right now?
Twitch.tv/eSaidNo. And I will see you guys in 10 minutes.
Fantastic. Steffi, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm at twitch.tv/SteffiHS. So come hang out with me there.
That's right. And I don't stream that much, but when I do, you can find me at twitch.tv/Brasky1142. I'm also at Twitter at Brasky1142. And of course, you can find out more. If this is your first time and you're just finding this stream, you can find out more about us at Team Hearth League, which you can find us, just search Team Hearth League in Facebook, and you can find the Facebook group there to ask some questions. But you can learn even more at teamhearthleague.com. So stay tuned. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Start making that Christmas tree, chat. And when we come back, we're going to have Thursday Throwdown between Brewski and JR Juggernaut. Stay tuned, everybody.